Okay. Let's see if this is actually working. Da 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 da. New channel. Live. Oh yeah. It's still. Why is it? Hang on. New channel, please. Okay, are we live? Do we sound good? Okay, we're good. Cool. I'm gonna keep this fan on because it's. Actually, you know what? I'll turn on the one that's farther away from the mic. That would be better. Okay. Yeah, I guess let's share the link here. Copy that. Okay. I guess I could have done that on here as well. Let me also pull up the actual films on my Letterboxd. Oh, no. I need diary. There we go. Okay. Alright. Okay. Hey, everybody. So, you may be wondering why this is a live stream and not the video that I recorded and was editing. If you even know what this is at all. So, my computer was having issues that could only be resolved by me wiping the entire computer. Well, the Apple Store people wiped the entire computer. And so the original 4-hour video of this is now lost. So as the condensed version that I got to just under 2 hours. So I'm just gonna do it as a live stream so I can be done with this project, because I started this marathon for this project pretty much exactly a year ago. Tomorrow will be 1 year since I started watching these films. The second time, anyway, because I watched like 7 or 8 of them and then stopped because I got too busy to keep up with it. And then last year I started it over again. So, for those who don't know, back on a YouTube channel that no longer exists, I reached a goal of a certain video becoming my most watched video on that channel. And I said that if I reached that goal, that I would watch and rank every Pinocchio film. And I did so. I do want to give a shout out to 2 YouTubers who beat me to this. There Will Be Fudd and Alex Boucher. But I would also like to point out that they were not nearly as thorough as I was. When I say I watched every Pinocchio film, I mean I watched literally every single Pinocchio-related film I could find. And I threw some extras in there as well, which, you know, we'll get to. And some of these aren't even films. There's short films, there's... We'll get to the more specifics. There's some TV episodes here. But all in all, I watched 84 pieces of media most of which related to Pinocchio. I mean, you can already see and I can't move this up. So, yeah, we're just gonna dive right in. And I'm gonna try to. I have very extensive notes about each film written down here that I read verbatim in the original recorded video. I'm going to skim through most of these. I'm going to try to go through these rankings as quickly as possible. And as you can see, I'm organizing this into a tier list rather than a standard, like, worst to best list. But within the tier list, I'm listing them from worst to best, even within the, like, tiers. So we're going to start off with, of course, the first film adaptation of Pinocchio. We have Pinocchio from 1911. This is an Italian silent film. It's a little, I think it's a little under an hour long. You can find it pretty readily available on YouTube. Not necessarily, I don't know if the original score still exists. The one version with music I did find, the score didn't sound like it would be something from the time, but maybe it was, I don't know. Yeah, this is the first Pinocchio film adaptation, obviously, and it's pretty faithful to the book, to the point where it incorporates a lot of the weirder and darker elements of the original story. I won't go into all of that, but yeah, it's, you know, obviously for a film from 1911, it's going to be somewhat dated, but it does have some very impressive production value for the time. The sets are actually really good. And I think this is a solid Pinocchio film. I think it's the perfect benchmark for a good Pinocchio film. You know, it's not a phenomenal film by any means, but it definitely B tier. Next we have The Golden Key from 1939. So Russia has their own Pinocchio story, depending on where you're looking for the translation or adaptation. It's either The Golden Key or The Adventures of Buratino. And at least from what I could find, there are some more adaptations, more film adaptations that I wasn't able to find. But as far as what I was able to track down, there seemed to be 3 film adaptations. This is the first one from 1939. So The Golden Key is a bit of a different story where, as opposed to the usual, like, tale of morality, it's just Pinocchio's a puppet come to life, gets into some hijinks, and there's this treasure that they end up, they have to find the golden key, and then once they find the golden key, they're able to unlock a secret room to find this mysterious treasure. It's not a particularly interesting story, in my opinion. And this particular adaptation, as well as one of the others we'll get to, suffers from the fact that Pinocchio's just not, or Buratino in these films, is just not likable. He's very annoying and gets into, a lot of misbehavior. He misbehaves and does bad things for seemingly no reason. Like, there's not really any internal logic to why he is misbehaving the way he is. And just getting into all kinds of unnecessary trouble. And the character's just not likable in this version. It is technically very impressive for the time. There's some very impressive stop motion work. There's actual puppetry. There's like forced camera perspectives to help make the smaller characters look smaller. It is a very technically impressive film, but just the story is not interesting, and this version of Pinocchio or Buratino is just not likable. So I put this one in D tier. Disney's Pinocchio, it's S tier. I don't need to go into detail on this one. It's the one everybody knows. It's truly one of Disney's best films. It does not get much better than this in terms of Disney or in terms of Pinocchio. On the opposite side, and of course that, originals from 1940. Then we've got The Adventures of Buratino from 1959. Again, this is another Russian one. And this one's just the same movie as The Golden Key, but worse. There's not really any internal logic to anything. Stuff just kind of happens with no rhyme or reason. It's completely 2D animated. And the animation's fine, but, it's not nearly as technically impressive as The Golden Key. And Buratino's even less likable somehow. So, yeah, that's an F tier. Pinocchio in Outer Space. This one is obviously ridiculous. It's sort of a pseudo sequel, and we'll get a couple films like this where they take place canonically after the events of the original story. Most of these types of film just kind of retreads the exact same story beats as the original story while pretending to be a sequel. Pinocchio in Outer Space does come up with its own story. It is, he does transform back into a puppet for being bad, but apart from that, and it's got a lot of the same characters, like the fox and the cat are there to trick Pinocchio. And I guess it's unclear if this version of Pinocchio had the incident with the whale, but the main villain of this film is a space whale named Astro, who is destroying U.S. satellites and is wanted dead or alive by the U.S. government. So Pinocchio's plan, in order to become a real boy again, is to capture Astro and bring him to the U.S. government. This takes place in the U.S., by the way, the parts on Earth take place in the U.S., despite this being Pinocchio. Obviously, there's a lot that takes place in outer space as well. The fox and the cat trick Pinocchio into thinking he can hypnotize Astro in order to capture him. And then Pinocchio ends up teaming up with this very Hanna-Barbera-esque character. What's his name? Nerdle the Twirtle. He's a secret agent from Twirtle D, the purple planet. And yeah, this film obviously is not good, but it is very fun and silly, and I'm going to put it in B tier right above the 1911 film. Pinocchio, this is the first of many that There Will Be Fudd and Alex Boucher did not cover in their respective videos. We have a Pinocchio. A lot of these are going to have just some variation of Pinocchio or The Adventures of Pinocchio as their titles. This is a made-for-TV musical from 1965. They do a Beauty and the Beast thing where the Blue Fairy tests Geppetto's kindness by disguising herself as a beggar. And then once he proves himself to be kind, she brings Pinocchio to life. Um, this is one where Lampwick is kind of a full-on antagonist as opposed to just a misguided and manipulated child. This also runs into an issue that a lot of other Pinocchio adaptations, especially in live action, do, which is casting an adult to play Pinocchio. The guy they got for this TV musical, I don't even remember his name, but he's just not convincing in the role. The Fox and the Cat are great. They're very clearly queer-coded, and they have the best song in the special. There's some depressing stuff in this. Pinocchio tries to drown himself at one point. And also, this is technically a Christmas movie, and for some reason, there's a lot of Pinocchio Christmas movies. This just happens to be the first one. Yeah, it's mostly forgettable. I put it in C tier, thanks pretty much exclusively to The Fox and the Cat. If it weren't for them, they'd be in D tier. You have Trulisse Abentur. I'm probably butchering that pronunciation, but it's a German adaptation of Pinocchio from 1967. This kind of mixes story beats from the Italian story and the Russian story. Yeah, it's mostly bad. There is some good unintentional humor in this. There's a kid who becomes prime minister of Playland. I wrote a joke in the original script of this kid beating Kirumi Tojo's record for the youngest prime minister. And also they use an actual, like, marionette puppet throughout the whole thing. It's not, like, the highest quality, but it, you know, it's got some charm. So I put this one in C tier, just above the previous one. Now we're on to The Erotic Adventures of Pinocchio from 1971, and yes, this is a porn parody of Pinocchio. Pretty much exactly what you'd expect. Geppetto is swapped out for a young woman who sculpts a grown man Pinocchio in order to have someone to love. And every time he has sex, his penis gets larger, but they never show it. Like, they build this full wooden man for the opening of this film, and they have these elaborately decorated sets, especially, like, very, like, high production value for a 70s porno. And yet they couldn't use some of that money to make a cartoonishly long dildo so that we could actually see how long his penis gets. Like, come on. You're a porn. Just go all the way. And it's not particularly sexy. How did I describe this? I wrote it down very succinctly in here. It's not sexy enough to be good porn, but it's also not interesting enough to be a good movie outside of it being a porn. And I initially put this in F tier as a joke because they refused to give us the D, but really, it's a D tier. it's not as bad as any of the other F tier stuff. We have Le Avventure di Pinocchio. This is a 1972 Italian miniseries that was edited down into a feature-length film. This is one of the few that I was unable to find English subtitles for or an English dub. But thankfully, this film is executed very well in that it doesn't necessarily require an understanding of the language to connect with it. Obviously, you know, I also watched 8 other Pinocchio films prior to this, but you know, it's very well made. The production design, the music, cinematography are all very good. It's also so far our most faithful adaptation, although there's another one right after this that is slightly more faithful. And the few changes that are made to the original story help ground this film. They go for a very realist approach to this Pinocchio film, which you would think would be bad, but it actually turns out very well. I put this in A tier. If I found a version with English subtitles, I'm sure I could bump it up to S tier. And depending on how the layout is for this, I may readjust some tiers. I know I did so in the original video, but I don't remember what I adjusted into what, so. Okay. Next we have The Adventures of Pinocchio from 1972, or 1971, or 1978. Kind of depends on where you're looking. This is a fully animated one from Italy. Actually their first fully animated Pinocchio adaptation, weirdly. I watched the English dub for this one. For mostly, I just watched whichever version was most readily available. If there was a version with subtitles in the original language, I would watch that version. If not, I would just watch the dub. We'll get to an exception of that later. But yeah, like I mentioned earlier, this is a very faithful adaptation. But it's not a particularly good one. Pinocchio's not likable. There's some inconsistent internal logic on whether he can grow his nose on... Like, when he's first carved, he is able to grow and shrink his nose on command. And that doesn't come up later, and that's the only time when he does it. And then there's another scene later where he blatantly lies to Lampwick and his nose does not grow. So there's some inconsistency there. Some really distracting music. It often overpowers the rest of the audio. The dubbed voices are not good. And the animation feels too fluid. Like, I described it as having very CDI Zelda cutscene vibes in terms of its animation. Yeah, I'm gonna put this one in F tier. Next we have Pinocchio's Birthday Party. I'm gonna turn that fan up just a little bit. I'm getting very warm. Pinocchio's Birthday Party. Not quite a pseudo-sequel like a lot of these other ones. This is actually a midquel. You know, like Bambi 2, or I guess the Beauty and the Beast ones, like Enchanted Christmas and whatnot. where it kind of takes place in the middle of the story. And it may or may not be connected to the earlier German version. I can't tell. So I think this version actually was directed by the guy who directed the English dub of the German film. So within this film's story, it's been 6 years since Pinocchio came to life, and he's somehow not a real boy yet. And the Blue Fairy and Geppetto decide they want to throw him a birthday party. There's also another Pinocchio film that I wasn't able to find, done by the same director as this, called Pinocchio and His Magic Show. And that one apparently features Robert Kerman, who was in over 100 pornographic films, Cannibal Holocaust, and also Sam Raimi's first Spider-Man film. And then at the birthday party, they give Pinocchio this, like, magic... Is it a mobile? Yeah, a story mobile that contains every story ever written for children. And through this, they have segments where they tell the stories of Puss in Boots and the Drummer Boy. And this would be fine, but it takes up half the runtime of this supposedly Pinocchio film, so it's kind of distracting. And then the evil wizard from the Puss in Boots story shows up and crashes the birthday party, but whatever. There's some good puppetry and stop motion work in this, though, so I put it in C tier, probably just right above right in between the German film and the TV musical. Next we have our final Russian adaptation. We have The Adventures of Buratino from 1975. This is easily the best Buratino film. It is actually genuinely really good. This one apparently got very popular on Tumblr, particularly for its version of the character Piero. There's a lot of weird stuff that happens in this movie. Like that character, Piero, who's like an actual, like, puppet child. He serenades his love interest, and her name is Malvina, and he rhymes her name with Angina when he's singing about her. And he also roasts all the villains with poetry. Also, it's worth noting, a couple different versions of Pinocchio will gender swap either the fox or the cat. More often than not, it's the fox that gets gender swapped. Even on one of the versions where it's the cat that's gender swapped, they make the cat the leader instead anyway, so... And it's worth noting, I mean, this doesn't really have anything to do with the film itself, but, this film does have a woman playing the fox, and she is maybe the most attractive person to appear in any of these Pinocchio films. Just something about her really gets me. I don't know. It's not relevant, though. Yeah, there's a lot of good physical comedy in this. I haven't really talked about the ending to The Golden Key or Adventures of Buratino, but, this has the same ending reveal as the previous adaptations, but it's actually it's set up much better in this version, whereas in the other adaptations, the reveal kind of comes off as out of nowhere and lackluster. So, but yeah, and this is the only one where Buratino is actually likable. I mean, he's still getting up to mischief, but the kid playing him is fantastic. All the acting in this is really good, actually. Yeah, this is one I definitely recommend you guys check out, if you can. I think you can still find it on YouTube in full, but yeah, this one goes in A tier. Or no, wait, I put this in B tier. I feel like I should have put it in A tier. Oh well, I can readjust later if I feel like it. Next we have another TV musical titled Pinocchio. This is from 1976. This is the one with Sandy Duncan as Pinocchio. She's, of course, very well known for playing Peter Pan on stage, but she did Pinocchio first. She's phenomenal in this role. She's so good. Like, genuinely, this is maybe... She might be one of the best Pinocchios, at least in terms of an adult playing Pinocchio. She's really good. Songs are good. The production design is really good. The costumes are great. They also make a very interesting choice in this version, where the Blue Fairy is not a character, and instead the Blue Fairy surrogate essentially is just Geppetto talking to God, and it adds a very interesting layer to Geppetto's character, because a lot of these films fail to give Geppetto any depth. Like, he's usually the best character in them, but he's never really a fully fleshed out character. This doesn't do the best job of fleshing out Geppetto's character, but it does a very good job, and is one of the earliest examples to actually even try and flesh him out. So yeah, I put this one in A tier. Next up we have Spinolio. This is a bit of a weird one. This is from 1977, and it's a 10-minute long Canadian parody of Pinocchio, but I included it on this list because it was on the Wikipedia list of Pinocchio adaptations, so I figured why not. So, in this one, the puppet doesn't actually come to life at all until the very end. Giuseppe, who's the Geppetto equivalent, just is crazy and thinks that his puppet has come to life. And so they show this lifeless puppet basically making his way through high school, getting a bunch of jobs, and like working his way up a company without actually doing anything. Like, that's part of the humor of it. There's one part where keep in mind this was made in 1977. There is literally a part in this film where he loses his position at the company and is replaced by a computer. He retires, gets arrested, joins a biker gang called Satan's Puppets. And then at the end, the Blue Fairy actually makes him a real person, and he ends up being an adult man because of how many years it's been. So he's homeless, but like according to the movie, he lives happily ever after, so like whatever. Yeah, there's some decent humor in this. Some of it's not great, but it is. I mean, the best thing I can say about this is that it is trying something completely different from any other adaptation. So I put it in B tier. I think I put it right there. Yeah, that sounds right. Oh boy. Okay, so next we have another miniseries from 1978 called Pinocchio. This one was from the BBC. This one didn't get a film edit, but its 2 episodes combined are only 2 hours long, so I counted it. I hate the design of Pinocchio. Geppetto's a lot more jaded and angry in this one. I said that this feels like a cross between a bad PBS Kids Sprout show and a psychological horror. The F tier. I remember this being one of the worst ones, but I don't actually remember too much from it. I feel like I've subconsciously blocked it out. But yeah. There's that. Pinocchio. Yes, next. From the same year, Pinocchio, A Lesson in Honesty. This is actually an educational video produced by Disney that incorporates footage from the original 1940 film, intercut with live action footage that doesn't really have anything to do with Pinocchio. But because this was so niche and I was able to find it online, I decided to include it. It's a D tier though. It's pretty heavy-handed and cheesy, like you'd expect from an educational video of this time. And honestly, the original Disney film from 1940 is a much better PSA in its own right about not lying. So yeah, it's a D tier. There's not really anything noteworthy about it. Puff the Magic Dragon in the Land of Living Lies. This one also, like, is it a Pinocchio film? Wikipedia said it was, which is why I counted it. And Pinocchio does appear in the film, just, you know, as a minor supporting character. This is also the only piece of Puff the Magic Dragon media I've actually seen. But, yeah, basically, Puff meets this little girl who is a pathological liar, and he takes her to what I described as a special place in hell for liars, where Pinocchio is actually a police officer, and she learns her lesson about not lying and ends up admitting that the reason she was lying so much is because she blamed herself for her parents' divorce. It's pretty hard emotionally, honestly. Especially as someone who comes from divorced parents, and lived through that. Also, yes, it's Puff the Magic Dragon. It is a drug trip, but not a bad one like the BBC one was. I put this in B tier. Probably put it like there. Pinocchio's Christmas from 1980. This one's from Rankin Bass, and obviously it's another Christmas one. Pretty much the only Pinocchio Christmas movie to market itself as a Christmas movie. Like, but so many of these are. Christmas is part of so many of these films. It's ridiculous. I don't understand why. This is another midquel, like, birthday party where it takes place in the middle of the story, but this makes the weird choice to retread a lot of the same story beats. I mentioned this earlier, how a lot of these a lot of these films that either act as midquels or sequels to the original story are really just retreading the same story beats as all the other films that do the same thing, and retread the same story beats as the original story. So it just feels like they're just doing another adaptation of the original story, even though they're claiming to be a sequel or midquel. There's some good parts in this, though. There's some funny bits. Maestro Fire Eater is the puppeteer, the Stromboli equivalent. 'Cause, I mean, the Disney version's the only version where he is called Stromboli, but, yeah, he keeps saying, like, non-English phrases and attributing them to the wrong cultures, which is funny. There's a running bit of the cat being struck by lightning. I wrote that the cricket is Bugs Bunny coded. And this is also the first one to give Pinocchio a love interest, which for some reason becomes a common thing in this, particularly in this era. Yeah, I give it a C tier. Probably, is it better than Birthday Party? What were my star ratings for these? I gave this one 2.5. What did I give Birthday Party? 2 stars. Okay, yeah, it's better than Birthday Party. Actually, I have it ranked higher than, yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it's not bad, it's just not particularly good. Very middle of the road. Okay, so the 80s had 2 different anime adaptations of Pinocchio, but only one of them got edited down into a feature film, so that's what I watched. I didn't watch the other one. It's the Adventures of Pinocchio from 1984, I think? Yeah, 1984. This one is weird. So, like, they had the original anime, and then, like, many years after this movie, Saban would actually acquire the the American distribution rights and do a full series dub of it. Alright, yeah, there's a piece of yarn caught on the back of this hat, and it was bothering me. Got a good theme song. A couple of these have good theme songs. Not all of them are actually good movies. Most of them aren't. I mean, Adventures of Buratino from the 70s has a good theme song and is a good movie, but, what else we got for here? Okay, yeah, there's a lot of weirdness in this one. The dub is bad. The dubbing is bad. I think it's more of a direction and writing issue than an issue with the actual actors performing the dub. There was a part, like when the Blue Fairy is bringing Pinocchio to life, where I swear I heard the actress voicing the Blue Fairy take multiple pauses to breathe because she was saying so goddamn much. Yeah, there's a lot. I want to talk about the weird stuff that happens in this one. Yeah, the pacing is bad. Like, you can tell this definitely works better as a full series, and I can say that without even having watched the full series. Like, I can tell, like, this would be much better as a series than it is as a movie. They clearly rush a lot of stuff for editing down this film. Um, um, okay. So, yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff that happen. I keep saying that, but I want to actually talk about it. Um, there's this mouse character that is, like, jealous of Pinocchio for being fed. Like this mouse lives in Geppetto's house. I don't think Geppetto knows the mouse is there, but, like, the mouse just resents Pinocchio. And I think he's in cahoots with the fox and the cat, or whatever their equivalents are. I couldn't tell what animals they were, and I don't think they ever said. There's this lord that, like, wants Pinocchio to inherit his lordship for some reason. Pinocchio gets turned into a tree at one point and is sold to a different wealthy family than the one that tried to adopt him into lordship. The fairy, I wrote the fairy pulls a Moses. I don't even remember that part. The puppet master wants to eat the fox and the cat equivalent, who are named Sly and Slick. But Pinocchio convinces him to enslave them instead. They burn down the circus and almost kill everyone inside. And then there's another circus that kidnapped a mermaid with star-shaped nipples because they're too small to be a bra. And then Pinocchio frees her, and she goes over her, like, tragic backstory about how she was kidnapped by an evil pirate and sold to the circus. Pinocchio falls in love with the mermaid, but he's forbidden from being with her because mermaid rules. And then there's a human girl from a third completely different wealthy family that Pinocchio then falls in love with, but he doesn't tell her that he's a puppet until she suggests that they get married when they grow up. And he promises to come back to her when he becomes a real boy so that they can be together. Again, it's really weird to give Pinocchio a love interest. He's a child. Oh, and then the film basically becomes Santa Claus is coming to town. There's like a ban on toys or Christmas or whatever, I don't remember. Oh, and then Pinocchio at the end is shot multiple times, and this is the first of surprisingly many films where Pinocchio gets fucking shot. It happens a weird amount of times. This is a low D tier. Well, I say low D tier, but it's going there, I guess. Yeah, that seems right. Okay. So this one's not a movie. It's actually an episode of Shelley Duvall's Fairy Tale Theater where they adapted Pinocchio. I'm not even going to waste time with this one because there's not really anything noteworthy to speak of with it. It goes in C tier, and the only reason it's going in C tier is because of Paul Rubens' performance as Pinocchio. I mean, he's just basically doing the Pee-wee thing, but it works well for this particular Pinocchio adaptation. It's 50 minutes long, but the length and budget don't really allow them to do anything interesting with the story. Next we have Pinocchio and the Emperor of the Night. This is another midquel, another sequel, like, Pinocchio in Outer Space. This one was made by Filmation, and it's very clearly made to capitalize on the Disney film, so much so that Disney actually sued Filmation. But Filmation won the lawsuit because of Pinocchio being in public domain. Although it's very clear, based on the fact that, based on the aesthetic of this film, the characters, and also the fact that Filmation was, or no, this film's director was a former Disney animator, so it very much feels like a spiteful Katzenberg situation before Katzenberg was even spiteful. This one has a very stacked cast of voice actors. You have Ed Asner, James Earl Jones, Don Knotts, and Frank Welker. Just to name a few, the ones I recognize anyway. So there's this evil puppet master named Puppetino who turns Pinocchio back into a puppet after essentially getting him to simp over a female puppet. Again, lot of Pinocchio adaptations during this era where they give him a love interest, and it's very weird. And it's also worth noting, the scene where Puppetino transforms Pinocchio back into a puppet is absolutely terrifying. So in this one, instead of a cricket, Pinocchio's got a wooden lightning bug that comes to life. And this wooden lightning bug is, or glow bug or whatever, is named G. Willikers. So very clearly trying to capitalize on the Disney film, like clearly riffing on Jiminy Cricket there. And they just, there's a lot of time in this film wasted with G. Willikers just getting up to hijinks with another bug named Lieutenant Grumblebee. Most of the screen time is focused on just, again, rehashing beats from the original Pinocchio story. And it turns out Puppetino works for the Emperor of the Night, who's just Satan, voiced by James Earl Jones. And again, unfortunately, despite being in the title of the movie, the Emperor of the Night has so little screen time because they just want to do all the Pinocchio stuff. They got to do all the same story beats as Pinocchio. It's bad, though. But I would say the animation quality and voice acting, and in particular, that big, horrifying scene of him turning back into a puppet, puts this in a high D tier. Now, you may see the next film and wonder, Noah, why are the Puppet Master films on here? They have nothing to do with Pinocchio. And that's because I was getting bored with just watching the Pinocchio films, and so I decided to add the Puppet Master films to spice things up. So I'm gonna briefly summarize what happens in the Puppet Master films. So we have the first one from 1989. So the maker of these puppets is Andre Toulon, and in this film he's played by William Hickey, who was previously nominated for an Oscar and also would play Uncle Louis Griswold in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. So And apparently his research holds the secret to immortality, and so he's being hunted by the Nazis, because it's, like, at least the opening of this film is World War II era. We will get a lot more World War II era stuff with this franchise, with the Nazis. So, Toulon hides the puppets and, takes his own life so that the Nazis can't get his secrets from him. His hiding place is in this hotel, and many years later, this group of friends that all have different psychic abilities gather at the hotel because one of their friends, Neil Gallagher, is dead. The puppets get out and start killing people, and it turns out that Neil Gallagher didn't actually die. Well, he did die, but he brought himself back to life because he found Toulon's secret. And then, because he's evil and the puppets don't like that, remember this, it'll be on the test later. Not true, there isn't a test, but it will become relevant when I talk about the other Puppet Master films. Yeah, so the puppets don't like that Neil Gallagher is evil, and he also slaps his wife a little bit, and so they kill him. This one's a bit slow compared to some later Puppet Master films, but it's still pretty weird in a fun way. And Irene Miracle is really good as the character Dana Hadley. She's really fun. I'm gonna put this in B tier. Puppet Master 2, 1990. The puppets dig up Andre Toulon's grave and resurrect him. There's this group of paranormal investigators that go to the hotel from the first movie to figure out what made the one guy from the first movie go crazy. There's one guy who survived at the end. Well, one guy and then Neil Gallagher's wife survived at the end. But they never show up again. Really the only recurring human characters are like between 4 and 5 and then Andre Toulon. Anyway, so these paranormal investigators go to the hotel or whatever. They start getting killed by the puppets. And then, apparently the puppets need to harvest brain fluid in order to maintain their powers. The resurrected Toulon comes back, and he thinks that one of the paranormal investigators is actually a reincarnation of his wife, who's killed by Nazis. We'll get more into that in a bit. And I guess Toulon was just using the puppets, like he didn't really care about them. So he was just using them to get to the girl that he thinks is his reincarnated wife. So it really goes against his entire morality from the first movie, where he was willing to take his own life in order to make sure that these puppets did not get into the wrong hands. And so the puppets, again, betray their master, kill him. Yeah, this one's just kind of a generic slasher film with forgettable human characters. They do introduce Torch in this one, who's a puppet with flamethrower, and he kills a child, so that's fun. But, otherwise, this is a D tier. Probably, yeah, there we go. Puppet Master 3, Toulon's Revenge from 1991. This is actually a prequel set during World War II, and Andre Toulon is the protagonist in this one. He is never again played by William Hickey, by the way. It was just for the opening of the first one, which they also reuse in a couple other films. Yeah, it's just Andre Toulon and the puppets killing Nazis because they killed Andre Toulon's wife and stole his research. Um, so yeah, it's fun. I just watched Exorcist the beginning, because I'm watching all the Exorcist films for research for a project that you guys will see at some point. Um, and I've also seen Hannibal Rising. Um, why is this the only good... What, A, why are there so many horror prequels featuring Nazis? And B, why is this the only good one? I'll tell you why this is the only good one. Because they introduced Six Shooter, who is the best puppet in the series, in my opinion. He's just a cowboy dude with 6 arms, and each arm has a gun. It's great. Yep, I'm putting this just below the first one in B tier. It's still got a little, that weird cheap look. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the budget of these films, because this apparently has double the budget of the first film, but it looks a lot cheaper in terms of filming quality. Maybe they just spent all the money on better puppets. That would make sense. Like I said, I didn't mention this when talking about the second one earlier, but the second one looks like it's kind of shot like a TV show. I don't know how else to explain the look of it. It just has this very cheap TV feeling look. And Puppet Master 3 has that same look and some of the pacing issues of the first. But again, they're killing Nazis. And it's fun. And the ending's really good. Now back to Pinocchio for a little bit. We've got 964 Pinocchio. This is a Japanese cyberpunk horror film, and it's awful. Pinocchio is a malfunctioning sex slave cyborg, cast off by his owner and hunted by his creators. I promise it's not as interesting as it sounds. This is F tier. This film ranges from being super boring to just being people screaming a lot, and it has occasional bursts of being the most disgusting film I've ever watched. Like, there's genuinely there are scenes in this that almost made me throw up, straight up, and it's not fun. It is just a painful endurance test, and it's not for me. F tier. Fisher King. Yes, this counts as a Pinocchio film. There is a Pinocchio puppet that is a recurring symbol throughout the film. And it's worth noting that when Alex Boucher ranked Pinocchio films, he gave an honorable mention to the Fisher King, which is why I have it here. And I'm going to make an argument for the Pinocchio puppet being super relevant to this film, because both Pinocchio and Jack Lewis act selfishly in the beginning of their stories, making big mistakes that hurt those around them as well as themselves, and try to make up for their selfish mistakes by selflessly helping a poor, lonely man in need of companionship. This being Geppetto and Robin Williams' character Perry, in The Fisher King. In the end, Geppetto gets a son and Perry gets a girlfriend and a friend. So I consider this an A-tier Pinocchio film for those reasons. Yeah, again, I know it shouldn't count, but I'm putting it in A-tier. Fuck you. Silent Night, Deadly Night 5, The Toy Maker, actually does count as a Pinocchio film, though, legitimately, I promise. Because the titular toy maker is named Joe Petto, and he has a son named Pino, who by the end of the film is revealed to actually be a robot. But, yeah. And also, so, it's suspected throughout the film that Joe Petto is making these, toys that are booby-trapped and possibly killing kids. But then it's revealed that Pino is actually the one who made the evil toys that kill people. And he was targeting this one particular kid because he wanted that kid's mom to be his mom. But he also wanted to have sex with her. I don't... Well... Would I say I don't recommend watching this movie? I mean, it's not as batshit insane as Silent Night, Deadly Night 2. It's still pretty batshit insane and fun. But, yeah, I put this in C tier. I don't know. Hang on, let me see how I ranked this. 2.5 stars. Yeah, I'll put it there. Next we have another Pinocchio film. Another actual Pinocchio film. It's from 1992. It's called Pinocchio, and it's from Good Times Entertainment. Studio notorious for ripping off Disney. And they also distributed the home video release of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles coming out of their shelves. And this one's bad. It's actually a pretty by-the-books, faithful adaptation for the most part. Just kind of boring and not good. There's some weird pacing in this. Because immediately after Pinocchio is carved, we fade to the next morning and he's alive, fully clothed, and stealing an apple. And it's never explained how he came to life. There's like 4 voice actors in this. One of them is Jim Cummings, who voices 4 characters. There's one original song in this, but for some reason all the other music used in this is all this classical music. I don't know why it's there. Like, Ride of the Valkyries is here, Nutcracker Suite, Ave Maria, they're all in there. Yeah, pretty straightforward adaptation. There's not really anything good about it, but it's not as egregiously bad as the stuff in F tier, so I put it in D tier. Puppet Master 4. There's this Egyptian demon that Andre Toulon apparently stole the secret to eternal life from. And the Egyptian demon wants to keep that secret from getting out. So he sends his own living puppets to kill these scientists who are trying to create artificial intelligence. And one of these scientists is doing research at the hotel from the first 2 movies. And Toulon's spirit sends the puppets in order to protect the scientist and his friends. One of his friends is a very attractive psychic. It's, you know, this Puppet Master movie has good pacing. Human characters actually have personality. It's funny, and it looks like a movie, and there's puppets fighting other puppets. I initially put this in A tier in my script, but spoiler alert, this is easily the best Puppet Master film. No other Puppet Master film gets better than this one, so I'm just gonna put it in S tier. And yes, Puppet Master 4 is our second S tier alongside Disney's Pinocchio. Oh boy. Next we have Puppet Master 5, the final chapter. By the way, there are 15 Puppet Master films. So obviously this title is a fucking lie. This came out in 1994. They start with, like, a previously on Puppet Master recap of the last movie. And so the Egyptian demon is back, and he wants Toulon's secret, even though in the previous film they said it was his secret that Toulon stole from him. So it doesn't make sense. And he has this ultimate weapon that is literally just a bejeweled version of the puppets he had in the last movie. And there's also a guy who just got hired at the lab that the main guy from from the previous movie works at, and he's trying to steal Toulon's puppets. It's not really explained. This just replaces every good part of Puppet Master 4 with every single issue that the previous films had. And also the hot psychic girl is stuck in the hospital for the entire movie, so she barely gets any screen time. So this is an easy F tier for me. Oh boy. Oh, we got a big one now. Oh no. So this is gonna be a longer one, because I have to go into... No, you know what? I'm not even gonna go into detail on Okio Pinocchio, because y'all should watch it. S tier. This is not an actual Pinocchio adaptation. I don't know why it's called Okio Pinocchio. I mean, there's some Pinocchio imagery in it, but, like, they don't really go in depth into explaining it, at least not from what I could tell, because I also couldn't find subtitles or a dub for this one. And it's not a straightforward Pinocchio adaptation. So I just kind of guessed what was happening the entire time. I wrote, like, a full page, like, all this, and then onto this page. That's all Okio Pinocchio. And I'm still not even sure what happened in the film. But it's an S tier, because it's so fucking insane, and I had a blast watching it, even though I had no idea what was happening. So yeah, and it's on YouTube, so go watch it. I'm not going to explain all the insanity. No, you know what? I am going to explain. I have to skip forward in this stream if you don't want spoiled on this movie. Okay, so there's a bank, and no, I can't. I'm looking at this, I'm like, this is too much for me to summarize right now. I'm just gonna move on. Next up we have The Adventures of Pinocchio from 1996. This is one that's a little more mainstream. There's a solid chance, if you've seen any Pinocchio films besides the Disney version, that you might have seen this. It's got a solid cast. You got Martin Landau as Geppetto, Rob Schneider as the Fox, and Jonathan Taylor Thomas, I believe, is Pinocchio. I don't know who that is, but apparently he was pretty popular as a child star. And honestly, this film starts really good. Like, for most of the runtime of this film, for the first hour, I was like, this film is great. Why does it have such middling reviews? And then we get to the third act. Well, first of all, I want to give credit where credit's due. The effects are really good for the time. And Pinocchio films kind of have an issue when it comes to villains. I mean, the Pinocchio story has a bunch of iconic villains, but because there's so many of them and they're all in they all have, like, different obstacles they present to Pinocchio, essentially, that some adaptations can feel a little overstuffed, and the villains can end up feeling kind of one note, which isn't necessarily a detriment in all of these adaptations. I mean, I think the Disney version does a very good job with all the villains. But there's a lot of versions where they either cut some villains entirely, or there's a villain that is clearly more compelling than the others. But anyway, Adventures of Pinocchio actually takes the Puppet Master character, wait, I forget what they named him in this version. What did they name him in this version? I don't think I wrote it down. Lorenzini. That's it. I didn't write it down, but I remembered. Lorenzini is the Puppet Master in this adaptation, and they really make an effort to develop him into a very well-rounded and complex villain. And the actor does a very good job. And then we get to the ending of the film, particularly the third act. The third act is not good. I don't even remember all of what's bad about the third act. But there's one particular creative liberty the filmmakers took that is so baffling, and I think, apart from whatever the fuck 964 Pinocchio is, might be the worst creative decision in any Pinocchio film, in my opinion. So, the kids turn into donkeys by drinking this magic water that rains down on them while they're riding a roller coaster. By the way, that scene is pure nightmare fuel, but it's not what I'm here to talk about. So, when they get off the roller coaster, one of the donkeys kicks Lorenzini into a pool of the magic water, and it turns him into the whale that swallows Pinocchio and Geppetto. I hate this decision. I think it's so stupid. It completely ruins the genuinely great villain you had. And before this third act, I was totally thinking, like, oh, this film is an easy A tier. But that ending drags it all the way down to a low C tier. It's that bad. Now we have Pinocchio's Revenge. This is the reason I'm making this ranking. Because on my other channel that no longer exists, I did this series called Miserable Movie Monday, where I would watch and react to terrible movies. And one of the films I watched was Pinocchio's Revenge. Now, Pinocchio's Revenge is not a bad film. I just figured, based on the title and the premise, that it would be. But I figured it would be fun bad. No. This is not the dumb slasher schlock like Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey that you think it's gonna be. No. This is a genuinely gripping psychological thriller. Psychological horror. That is carried by a great performance from Britt Smith, who's 11 at the time. And if that name sounds familiar, it is because she performed the original version of Karma's a Bitch, that song that people accused Jojo Siwa of stealing last year. Or maybe it was 2 years ago. I don't remember. It's been a while, but no one cares anymore. Yeah, this film, like, genuinely, if you are going to watch any of these films, This is one that I recommend very highly. This is so genuinely really good. Don't let the title fool you. Don't let the Rotten Tomatoes score fool you, because this did not do well with critics. It is a phenomenal horror movie. I cannot recommend this enough. It is genuinely one of my favorite films on this list. Easily. Then we get back to Puppet Master, and we have Curse of the Puppet Master from 1998. So, there's this Dr. McGrew guy that somehow acquired Toulon's puppets, and he charges people to see them, then hires this guy to carve him new puppets, and he's trying to recreate Toulon's work by making living puppets. Robert keeps having these nightmares about being turned into a puppet. A twist that was spoiled for me by the Wikipedia plot description. Literally, it's the second sentence on the Wikipedia page for this film. It says that Dr. McGrew is trying to turn humans into puppets. But the reveal comes with less than 15 minutes left in the movie. So thanks, Wikipedia, for spoiling that. IMDb also kind of spoiled the twist of Andre Toulon being back in Puppet Master 2, but whatever. That's not as egregious because we saw them resurrect him in the beginning. This film is so fucking slow. Even slower than the previous Puppet Master films. The puppets get barely any screen time, and a lot of the screen time they do get is actually just reused footage from previous films, which does not work within the context of the film and usually breaks the continuity of the film. And it's worth noting that the person who edited this film is J.R. Bookwalter, who directed Robot Ninja, which is one of the worst films I've ever seen. So, yeah, this is an F tier. Big fat F tier. Then we get Retro Puppet Master from 1999. This is another prequel that's actually set before Puppet Master 3. It focuses on a sorcerer who steals the secret of life from the Egyptian demon scene in 4 and 5, and teaching that secret to a young Andre Toulon, who is actually played by Greg Sestero 4 years before The Room. And for some reason, they're having him do this terrible French accent, despite the fact that nobody else in the movie, but most of the other characters don't have accents, and throughout the rest of this franchise, Andre Toulon has either had a German accent or zero accent. This one also shows Andre Toulon meeting his future wife, who eventually gets killed by the Nazis, you know. It's bad, but it's more funny bad than these Puppet Master films. The performance from Greg Sestero helps a lot with that. There's also some really cartoonish villains, bad ADR and cheesy special effects. I put it in C tier. I think I put it above... Yeah, I'd put it above Pinocchio's Christmas, I think. Yeah. New Adventures of Pinocchio. This is a sequel to The Adventures of Pinocchio. The bad one. This one. It's a sequel to this one, where they turn the Puppet Master into a fish. And New Adventures of Pinocchio is just bad. It's just... They made it bad. They took the bad movie and made it bad. There's none of the good in this one. And it's just all of the bad of the 1996 film. there's this whole thing where, like, Lorenzini is actually alive, and he's masquerading as his own estranged wife. And he tries to trick Pinocchio into getting turned back into a puppet by giving him this potion that'll turn him into a puppet. But Pinocchio thinks it's medicine, so he gives it to Geppetto. So Geppetto turns into a puppet and becomes really unlikable. And, also, they introduce the Blue Fairy in this one as if she's always been a thing when she wasn't in the 1996 film at all. Yeah, it's bad. And for some, they put in a damn sequel tease in the mid-credits. Thankfully, that never got paid off. Yeah, I think I put it below the Bad Puppet Masters. Yeah. Geppetto from 2000, first one of the 21st century. This is a TV movie, part of the Wonderful World of Disney block. It's got a great cast. It's got Drew Carey as Geppetto. Wayne Brady is also in this in a small role. Julia Louis-Dreyfus plays the Blue Fairy. Brent Spiner plays Stromboli. And Usher plays the coachman. And we'll get to that. This is a musical. And when I was watching this, I thought the music sounded really familiar. And then I looked it up and realized that this film was actually adapted into a stage musical called My Son Pinocchio, which my sister actually did in middle school, and she played Pinocchio, so kind of a full circle moment for me. And yeah, the music's really good. And I mentioned earlier that a lot of these Pinocchio adaptations fail to give Geppetto much depth. So you think one where Geppetto's the main character would be really good. But no. Well, yes and no. The parts that are actually focusing on Geppetto are not great because the story beats they give him are not very interesting. Like the story they're telling with Geppetto is not particularly interesting. And I think Drew Carey is horrendously miscast in this film because his snarky humor doesn't work for what makes Geppetto work in most Pinocchio adaptations. And also Drew Carey cannot sing. He's so bad at singing. That said, the rest of the cast is great. The songs and choreography are all really good. Julia Louis-Dreyfus is super charming as the Blue Fairy. Brent Spiner is just chewing the scenery as Stromboli. And Usher gives maybe my favorite interpretation of the coachman. Because he's playing the coachman like he's one of the cool... Because Usher was in his, 20s when he did this film. And he's playing, the cool younger adult that the kids can kind of relate to. And he uses that charm to manipulate them. It's very Michael Jackson-esque in both his swagger and weirdly how it's aged. Of him, luring these kids to their demise. He's, Michael Jackson didn't kill kids, but, did some bad stuff to kids. Allegedly. And, yeah, so I put this in a high C tier. If you got someone else besides Drew Carey to play Geppetto, it could be a B tier. Oh, boy. AI, artificial intelligence. Time for my hot take. This film's bad. I did not like this one. People praise this as one of Spielberg's best, but I absolutely did not care for it. This film feels like 3 different movies. There were genuinely... Were there 2 or 3 different times? Yeah, there were 3 separate occasions where I was watching this film, which is 2 hours and 25 minutes. It's not the longest film on this list, but at this point, it was the longest film I had watched for this marathon. We'll get to longer ones later, but 2 hours, 25 minutes, really fucking long for a Pinocchio adaptation. Obviously, this is a very different take on Pinocchio. It's, you know, this much more futuristic, more so inspired by Pinocchio. I mean, it is adapting the story of Pinocchio, but it's doing much more with, well, on the surface, it's doing much more. It's not really. And there were 3 separate occasions while I was watching this film, I thought the movie was almost over, only to check the time left and realize there was over half an hour left. This happened 3 different times. And they keep throwing in all these twists, and none of them are good. I hate Gigolo Joe. Why is Gigolo Joe in this movie? So, for those who haven't seen this movie, there's a character named Gigolo Joe, played by Jude Law. He is the second most prominent character in the film behind Haley Joel Osment's David. And Gigolo Joe insinuates that he wants to have sex with the Blue Fairy in order to make her make David a real boy. He feels so out of place and doesn't really contribute anything to the plot, again, despite being the second most prominent character in the film. And for those who don't know the production history behind this film, it was originally going to be directed by Stanley Kubrick. Stanley Kubrick was very passionate about adapting this film. But it took a while because he didn't, for the longest time, he did not think that it was possible to do the source material justice. Because this is based on a book or a short story or whatever. I think it's a book. And shortly before his death, Kubrick handed the film off to Steven Spielberg. And Steven Spielberg and Stanley Kubrick are both phenomenal directors, but their films are very opposite in tone. Because Kubrick's films are very dense, they're very bleak, and very psychological. Spielberg tends to veer more light, optimistic, and adventurous with his films. And so, as a result, this film just feels like a clash between those two. It feels very bloated and inconsistent. And yeah, I put this one in F tier. I'll put it above this one, though. Shrek. Yeah, I included the Shrek movies in this. And as you can see, not even just the movies. I included specials, too. I mean, Shrek... Here's the thing. I'm not gonna talk about these movies at length too much, because everyone knows what these movies are. Everyone's seen the Shrek movies. Shrek is fine. Shrek 1's fine. Like, I put it in B tier, but, like, I'm not the biggest Shrek fan. I'm not into the potty humor. It's not totally my sense of humor, but, you know, I can appreciate Shrek for, like, the creativity and uniqueness it brought to the animation industry at the time. Unfortunately, a lot of what it did really well, every other animated film since then has done so much worse. Not every animated film, but a good majority of the American animated films since then have done the same stuff but worse. I still think Monsters, Inc. should have beat it for the first Best Animated Film Oscar. But, yeah, it's a B tier. It's fine. Like, it's Shrek. It's fine. Tree of Palm, this is a Japanese animated film that actually was meant to be a film and not a show, like so many of the other Japan films. This one feels very Nausicaa-esque in its post-apocalyptic feel. This is one I feel like I should rewatch. Because I was very tired when I watched this. I was just trying to, you know, get as many Pinocchio films watched as I could. And this one kind of, you know, it lost me at times. I think this is one that actually would also work better as, like, a book or a TV show. It's very ambitious. They're clearly trying to do its own thing, and it's they're creating this vast, dark sci-fi fantasy world. It looks really cool. Like, the aesthetic of this film is great. But it does feel a bit overstuffed. Although it's got very good voice acting. The animation, again, is really good. And the ending's really good. I'm gonna put it in C tier. How did I rate this? Yeah, I'll put it there. That seems right. Okay, so you may be wondering, why is this film on here twice? So this is Pinocchio from 2002. This is directed by Roberto Benigni. You may have heard of this one, because this one got horrendous reviews when it came to the US. But here's the thing. So, Roberto Benigni, for those who don't know, Italian filmmaker. He won an Oscar. He won a couple Oscars, actually, for Best Actor and Best International Film for Life is Beautiful. And this was his follow-up to Life is Beautiful. When doing research for this this project, I saw that Alex Boucher, I believe, or was it There Will Be Fudd? Which one? There Will Be Fudd. There Will Be Fudd ranked this film very high in his ranking. And I was surprised by that because I had heard nothing but bad things. As it turns out, the original Italian version and the version we got in the US are vastly different. The Italian version is great. It is a great film. I'm just gonna go ahead and throw it in A tier. It is a great film. A lot of people are put off of this film by the fact that Roberto Benigni is a grown man playing Pinocchio. But this whole thing is very vaudeville-esque, and the humor, it's just so over the top. It feels very theatrical, to the point where it makes sense to have an adult man playing Pinocchio, because that's how you do it, like, on stage, if this were like a pantomime or something. He does a very good job. Everyone in this film does a very good job in the original Italian version. But then Miramax acquired the American distribution rights, and they butchered it with the dub. They edited it down, and they completely butchered it. The dubbing is awful. I'm putting this one in F tier. It's not as bad as everyone says it is, but it's still an F tier. We do get the worst performance as Pinocchio from Breckin Meyer. He's the one who voices Pinocchio in the dub, and it's awful. Yeah, okay. Now we have Shrek 4D, aka The Ghost of Lord Farquaad. I'm just gonna put this in D tier. There's nothing of note to it. But it's not egregiously bad. Yeah, I mean, for those who don't know, Shrek 4D, it was a theme park attraction. Like, it wasn't, like, it's not meant to be viewed outside of the 4D theme park attraction experience, even though they've made it available for such. Puppet Master: The Legacy. This is literally just a re-edit. This movie, like, there are less than 10 minutes of original footage in this film. The rest of the runtime of this film, which is an hour and 13 minutes, is footage from previous Puppet Master films. And it's terribly edited, it's paced horribly, the pacing of it makes no sense. And yeah, it's F tier. Like, it's the worst Puppet Master film, but it shouldn't even count. Puppet Master versus Demonic Toys. This one slaps. I have not seen Demonic Toys. It's another property from the same studio. I haven't seen it, but this movie's great. This one is also a Christmas movie. Somehow it is the best Christmas movie on this list. Corey Feldman plays the great-grandnephew of Andre Toulon. He's trying to recreate Toulon's work, along with his daughter. And this film is very cheaply made, but still fun. Anyway, the villain is Erica Sharp, who's like the CEO of Sharp Toys, and she's like, oh, I see that he's recreating those living puppets, I want that. So she, like, her late father sold his soul to a demon, and so she has the demonic toys on her side. I don't know what the plot of Demonic Toys is, but whatever. Yeah, this is so fun. And Corey Feldman gives the best performance in the franchise. Everyone else is really fun, too. They lean into how stupid this franchise is. This goes in A tier. I'll put it there. Yeah. Puppet Master vs. Demonic Toys is great. Great work. How did I rate the... Yeah, whatever. This works. Alright. Okay, Pinocchio 3000. This one fucking sucks. It's another futuristic adaptation, obviously. It was supposed to be a backdoor pilot for a 26-episode TV show. And there was supposed to have a video game that was on the same engine as Elder Scrolls 3. I don't know what the fuck that would have been like, but... Yeah, no, this film sucks. It's like... So... This is the point in the marathon where I started regretting doing the marathon. So this is the worst one so far. F tier. It's so bad. There's literally a scene where Pinocchio, who, by the way, this version of Pinocchio, maybe the worst design visually for any Pinocchio. There's a part where he's singing with, like, T-Pain-esque auto-tune, and while unwittingly luring children to be turned into robot slaves. It's awful. It's like, so bad. Don't watch this one. It's so bad. Now we have this one, Pinocchio from 2004. This is the first film that was ever made by Video Brinquedo, which, if you don't know who Video Brinquedo is, they are a Brazilian animation studio known for their mockbusters such as The Little Panda Fighter, What's Up, Balloon to the Rescue, Ratatouille, and various others. Which a lot of those have kind of become like cult classics, like being so bad it's good. This would absolutely be one of them if it had an English dub. Because it does. It's one of the few Video Brinkado films that doesn't have an English dub. But the animation is insane in this. It looks like one of those Elsa Gate videos from back in the day. But it well predates those. And it's very funny. The cricket's head jiggles anytime he moves like an inch. It's very weird. Geppetto looks like Lanky Kong fucked a Snoodle. Yeah, the animation quality is so horrendous in this. So slapdash. Oh, it's also one of the few 2D animated Video Brinkado films. There's a random mermaid that doesn't really contribute much to the plot, but both Pinocchio and the cricket get horny for her, and she's also the most well-drawn character in the movie. And yeah, I put this in B tier. If you want a fun bad time, watch it. It's funny. Shrek 2. I mean, what do I have to say about Shrek 2? It's better than Shrek in every way. Guess I'll put it there. Yeah, this seems right. A tier. It's, you know, it is one of few sequels that takes everything the original film did well and just improves upon it vastly. Shrek Far Far Away Idol, also A tier, one of the best DVD bonus features ever made. Pinocchio sings Domo Arigato in this one. By the way, if you pick anyone other than Puss in Boots to win, you're insane. Teacher's Pet. This is a Disney film that acts as a finale to the TV series of the same name. And it is basically Pinocchio, but with a dog instead of a puppet. And it you know, as you can see by the poster, it pays homage to the Disney Pinocchio film very heavily. Also lampoons a lot of other Disney stuff in general. The TV show was about a boy disguising himself, a dog disguising himself as a boy, rather, to attend school with his best friend / owner. In the movie, he goes to Florida in order to become a real boy, but there's a miscalculation because of dog years, so he turns into a grown man. At one point, he tries to sleep with his owner's mother, which is very weird. But then, at the end, he learns that he was meant to be a dog all along, and so he decides not to. He decides to be a dog again. This is a C tier. I put it here, I guess. It's fine. It's got that. It's from the same artist as Cranium. It's got that distinct style to it. Some of the humor is really good. Some of it's weird. I don't know, not my thing, but yeah. It probably would mean more to me if I actually watched the show that it's based on, that it's a finale to, but I never did. I remember watching a little bit of that in film as a kid, but I don't remember why. Anyway, welcome back, Pinocchio from 2007. This is another pseudo-sequel. This one's bad. It's... I also compared this to CDI games in terms of animation quality. Pinocchio looks like a bootleg Dora and sounds AI generated, even though I know this is from 2007. There's no way his voice is AI generated, but it sounds like that. I think I'd put this one as slightly worse than Pinocchio 3000. It's another Christmas one for some reason. Because the Fox and the Cat, who also have a robot sidekick and a green wizard, a green wizard and a creepy robot clown. Yeah, very overstimulating, very overstuffed. They want to abolish Christmas. That's their evil plan. Yeah, and again, they're just retreading the same story beats as the original. And all the new stuff is bad. Pinocchio does get shot again, so add that to the tally. Yeah, so much of this stuff doesn't... So much of this film is bad and inconsistent in its logic. It's an F tier, easily. Shrek the Third. Man, Man, I liked this one as a kid. And I was surprised when I grew up and everyone was hating it. I'm like, what? I remember liking that one. It is bad, but it's a fun bad. I put it in low C tier because it's not the... Yeah, I'll put it here. I mean, Prince Charming's evil plan is to lure Shrek to be in a play that he's going to use as Shrek's execution. That's fucking hilarious. Shrek the Halls... This one's bad. It's D tier. It's just a Shrek Christmas special that's not good. But it's somehow not the worst Shrek Christmas special. We'll get to you. Shrek the Musical. This is the best piece of Shrek media. This is an S tier. It's the only Shrek media to actually make Pinocchio a proper developed character. All the characters feel way more developed in this. The music's great. The production value is great in the Pro Shot on Broadway. The cast is great. Best piece of Shrek media. I'm gonna move this up a little bit. I'm probably like, yeah, here. That'll do. There's an opera adaptation. This one's bad. It's boring. It's long. This is like 2.5 hours. Yeah, it's 2.5 hours. So fucking long. And it's not in Italian, which I expected it to be. It's in English, which I feel like makes it worse. Like, I feel like this would have been way better if it was in Italian. That's a D tier. Yeah. Yeah, it's just long and boring. That said, this next one, Pinocchio from 2009, this one is 3 hours long. It is another mini-series that was condensed into a... Well, it wasn't really condensed. It was just they put the 2 episodes together and made a movie. And you may think, well, if 2.5 hours is way too long, then 3.5 hours, or 3 hours must be egregiously long. This must be one of the worst ones. No, actually, this one's great. Because it uses that extra time. They make this really cool choice where Carlo Collodi is actually a character, and they use him as a framing device where, like, he's in the process of writing the story of Pinocchio as you're seeing it play out. And he's inspired to write this story based on his interactions with a lonely carpenter that fixes his writing desk. He's like, oh, I want to write a story about that guy. It's a cool little thing. And This has Bob Hoskins as Geppetto, and Bob Hoskins is the best Geppetto. Both his performance is super emotional and complex, and also this is the film that does the best job of giving Geppetto more to work with in terms of being an actual character. Is a lot of the story is focused on his attempts to get Pinocchio to, like, go out and find Pinocchio and get him back. And it's like the town is skeptical at first, and then they eventually chip in to help him rescue his son. It's great. It's so good. This is an S tier. The ending also made me cry, so it goes an S tier. Okay. So I have to give some context for The Adventures of Pinocchio from 2009 for Wii, DS, and PS2. Yes, this is a video game by the loosest definition. So it's made by Phoenix Games. And Phoenix Games is notorious for packaging, like, the most, like, low effort, like, kids puzzle and coloring gameplay with these really cheaply made short films, often ripping off Disney movies. They're associated with Dingo Pictures. If you've heard of Animal Soccer World, same people. And this one, how long is this one? I don't remember. This is very short. This is one of the shortest. It constantly forgets whether or not it is a musical. Oh yeah, this is 7 minutes long. It is a musical, but it constantly forgets that it's a musical. There's a narrator that makes multiple blatant errors. Like he keeps saying things that do not match up at all with the visuals we are given. Like when the fox and the cat show up, the narrator refers to them as 3 nasty criminals, even though there is only 2 of them. They didn't add a third one. And most of the story is blown through in one song at the very end. This is F tier. Like, easy F tier. Yeah, I'll put it there. Okay. Astro Boy. Yes, counts as Pinocchio adaptation. The creator of Astro Boy had stated specifically that Astro Boy was inspired by Pinocchio. He's a robot, and he never becomes a real boy, like, physically, but, you know. Now, when I was putting together this list, I got, like, halfway through like, the marathon, and my friend was like, oh yeah, Astro Boy could count, right? And I'm like, yeah, I'll include the 2009 film. And I'm like, wait, shit, did Japan make any films earlier? So this one's from 1964. So yes, it's out of order slightly. Just slightly. It's not like... If I put this in order... 1, 2, 3... 4... So if I put this in the right order, this would have been the 5th film I watched. But whatever. It's fine. Astro Boy, The Brave in Space. There are technically a couple different Japanese Astro Boy... Well, there's 2. There's 2 specifically. Both were released in the 60s, but both were just compilations of TV shows, and I couldn't find the one for the live-action show. This is a compilation of episodes from the animated show, edited into a feature-length film. Also, I was able to find the dub for one of the episodes, but like there isn't accurate information on exactly which episodes are included in this film and which number they are in the series. So I was only able to watch like a third of this film in English by technicality. I found the whole film. It's just in Japanese and no English dub or subtitles. So I understand about a third of what happens in this film. Astro Boy's just insane in general. It's very weird and fun. Like watching this, watching the 1/3 of this dubbed and then the rest of it not knowing what was happening and barely knowing what was happening when I was watching it dubbed, makes me want to actually go through and watch this series because it's so weird. I'm not delving into all the weirdness of it because I wrote a lot on this one, but this is easily A, the best Japanese Pinocchio adaptation, and B, the best sci-fi Pinocchio adaptation. So I'm putting it in high B tier. We'll put it... Yeah. There. Oh. Yeah. That feels right. Well. Yeah. There we go. Whatever. On the other hand, the 2009 American adaptation is not very good. It really just removes all the weirdness of the original and just makes it a generic kids movie. Also, one of the most boring Nicolas Cage performances. Nicolas Cage plays Dr. Tenma, who is like Astro Boy's father, and you'd think having Nicolas Cage as a scientist whose son dies, and so he makes a robot replica of his son, and then is like, "Oh, you're not my real son. I don't want you anymore," and casts away his robot son. You'd think having Nicolas Cage play that role would be perfect, but he's just phoning it in, and so is everyone else in this movie, except Nathan Lane's fine. And yeah, this one's not good. It's a D tier. Yeah. There. Papa Geppetto, this is a 7-minute short film made by Neil Cicierega, who's more well-known for his music mashups, but I accidentally found this one when looking for 2000s Geppetto, so I decided to include it in this. Basically, it's a sequel to Pinocchio. Pinocchio leaves for college, and Geppetto's lonely, so he decides to try to make a new puppet and hopes it'll become a real boy, and hijinks ensue. This is an A tier. It's cute. Go watch it. It's fine. Pistachio, the little boy that wouldn't, is the VeggieTales version of Pinocchio from 2010. This is a bit of a weird era for VeggieTales because they're in between mergers. I think they had just completed... Yeah, they were under the... Big Idea was under its third parent company at this time. Which was the final one before they got acquired by DreamWorks. And which, you know, was what led to the ultimate downfall of VeggieTales. I would go as far as to say this might be the last great VeggieTales episode. It really... Like, VeggieTales did a couple fairy tale adaptations during this time. This was the first one they did. But you can tell that, like, Pinocchio definitely is one of the ones that works the best with the VeggieTales format. Just because it is... because it is explicitly a morality tale. And there's a really nice touch where they draw parallels between the relationship between Geppetto and Pinocchio and the parable of, I need to get the name, the parable of the lost sheep, which is like the shepherd had 100 sheep, one ran off, and he left the 99 behind to save the one. There's parallels drawn to that parallel with Geppetto and Pinocchio, or Gelato and Pistachio in this, and it's really good. This is an S tier, honestly. It's really, like, I watched this as a kid. This was, I think, the last VeggieTales episode I watched as a kid. And I wasn't sure how it would hold up, with it being a newer VeggieTales episode in the grand scheme of things, but it's still really good. Shrek Forever After, the final chapter, another final chapter that's fucking lying to us. This one's bad. Like, I don't understand why Shrek the Third gets so much more flack than this one, because this is just objectively worse than Shrek the Third. There are two parts of Shrek Forever After that I like. One, Fiona's hot warrior design. She's hot. And then the Pied Piper. He's really cool. The way they adapt the Pied Piper for this movie and this universe is really cool. And I wish that he was the main villain, because Rumpelstiltskin is such a bad villain in this movie. Like, he's so annoying, and it's like, and also it's like the guy who voices him is just the head of story on the film too, and it's like, okay, maybe don't let the head of story also voice the main villain, when I don't know if this guy has much other voice acting experience, but whatever. So yeah, Shrek Forever After, this is a D tier. It's not good. I guess I'd probably put it slightly above Ghost of Farquaad. Scared Shrekless. This is a fun one. I actually get to talk a little bit more about Pinocchio's involvement in this one, because Scared Shrekless is a Halloween special that is essentially like an anthology. Like, there's a couple different stories in it, and they're all parodying different horror films. And Pinocchio is predominantly featured in The Shrexorcist, which of course is a parody of The Exorcist, and Pinocchio is the stand-in for Reagan, and it's great. It's so funny. Like, if this special were just The Shrexorcist, I would put it in S tier. But the other specials are, like, not really noteworthy. I don't even remember what happens in them. So, well, there's a Bride of Frankenstein one with Gingy, and then there's the really bad Psycho one with Donkey and Puss and Charming, and it's not good. So, yeah, I put this in B tier. I think I put it... No, I cannot put it above Shrek 2. I'll put it above Far, Far Away Idol. But I can't in good conscience put it above Shrek 2. Even if, like... Oh, wait. Did I put... Oh, no, wait. I said B tier for this. Why am I putting it in A tier? Oh, yeah. No, it's B tier. Just above the original Shrek. It's great. Seriously, just go watch the Shrexorcist part. It's so good. Next we have Donkey's Christmas Shrektacular. I shouldn't have counted this. It's so bad. Pinocchio's barely involved, and it also completely breaks the continuity of Shrek. Oh, actually, Scared Shrekless also breaks the continuity. I have to address this, because they confirmed that the official Shrek Twitter confirmed the timeline is the order these films and specials were released. Scared Shrekless breaks continuity a little bit because it's supposed to take place after Shrek Forever After, which takes place after Shrek the Halls. Shrek the Halls depicts the triplets' first Christmas. Shrek Forever After depicts their first birthday, and Scared Shrekless depicts their first Halloween. That order of events is impossible. Like, those events are only possible if Shrek Forever After takes place after Scared Shrekless. So I don't know what's going on there. I don't think they thought of that. Okay, Puppet Master Axis of Evil. This kicks off an Axis trilogy for the Puppet Master franchise. These are all World War II prequels. They take place just after Toulon's death. Yeah, they take place just after Toulon's death in the first movie. There's this guy that hears Toulon shoot himself, sees the Nazis searching for the puppets. He ends up taking the puppets. But also, because they never explain... They never show him bringing the puppets back to the hotel. This also breaks continuity of the Puppet Master franchise, because they're in the hotel in the first movie. They need to be there, so to have someone take them away and not return them, that's a plot hole. Oh, also, this is the first Puppet Master and one of only two that actually makes direct reference to Pinocchio. So, Danny's girlfriend, Danny's the guy who took the puppets home, his girlfriend works at an American bomb plant, and there's this Nazi that is working undercover there that befriends her, and the Axis powers want to blow that place up, obviously, so Danny and the puppets gotta stop it. This film is bad and racist, but it's also not as slow and boring as a lot of the other Puppet Master films, and has a bit of funny bad quality to it, especially with the ending. So I placed this in high D tier. What did I give this? 2? Okay, I gave it 2 stars, so I think I gave... Yeah, let me double check what rating. Yeah. That's the right placement for it. Puppet Master X, Axis Rising. So both Danny and his girlfriend are recast in this one, and at the end of the last film, Tunneler got captured by the Nazis, so now they have to rescue Tunneler. Oh, and the Nazis are using his life juice to create their own living puppets, one of which is an extremely racist Japanese caricature named Kamikaze. Oh, also, they made one of the Nazi soldiers sexy, which is a baffling choice. Yeah, and this one's slow and boring, like a lot of the previous films. Danny's new actor doesn't have the same funny bad quality to his performance as the previous actor does. Although there's some fun puppet v puppet fights, and the character Sergeant Stone, I don't remember what made him so great, but I remember him being good. So barely keep this in D tier. Yeah. Okay. This next Pinocchio film from 2012, it's an Italian animated film with an English dub featuring John Heder that was distributed by Lionsgate. And if I had a nickel for every Pinocchio film from a different country that had an English dub featuring John Heder distributed by Lionsgate, I would have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice. This one's pretty by the books, pretty standard adaptation. The animation is really good, though. Probably the best looking 2D animated film since Disney's original. There's some odd creative choices in there, and the dub isn't, great, but it's pretty, it's fine. I'd say it's solid B tier for this one. Let's see, where did I... Yeah, I'd probably put it, like, here. Maybe here. Yeah, here. Okay, Pinocchio from 2013. It's another miniseries edited down into a film. It's the shortest one of its kind, at 1 hour and 36 minutes. Definitely should have been longer. This one feels very rushed. It's German with an English dub. And the dub is not good, and the CGI is really bad. This one would be completely forgettable if not for the fact that Sandra Hüller plays the fox. And if you don't know, Sandra Hüller, a couple years ago, starred in 2 Best Picture nominees, Anatomy of a Fall and The Zone of Interest, and she got nominated for the former. Actually, no, wait, she got nominated for both, I think. I'll have to double check that. But yeah. So yeah, it's unfortunate that she did not dub herself in this, because it would have significantly improved things, probably. I'm gonna put this in F tier, probably there. That seems right. Okay. Now in 2013, the Game Grumps played Disney's Pinocchio for SNES. I just included this because I love Game Grumps and thought this would help balance out the good to bad ratio. What I did not expect from this one is that this one is very poorly aged immediately. I mean, it's C tier. It's the second half of the episode is fine, but it's far from peak Game Grumps, and, like, the beginning is just, like, ooh. Despite this being a Dan era episode, oh, there's some jokes that haven't aged well in there. Okay, Avengers Age of Ultron in 2015. This also definitely counts as a Pinocchio film. Ultron is Pinocchio. Robert Downey Jr. is Geppetto. I wrote, in this version, Geppetto is an egotistical billionaire dickhead who thinks he knows the best way to protect the world, and Pinocchio rightfully rebels against him. Crazy how Tony Stark is the villain in, like, half the MCU, even after his death, and nobody acknowledges it except the villains he creates. I wrote that joke before he got cast as Doctor Doom in Doomsday. I'm still pissed about that, and I'm gonna be doing something with that later next month. I have a fun stream planned for that, a fun project that I'll be streaming the beginning of. Anyway, just stay tuned for that. I remember really liking this film when it came out, and then I rewatched it, and I'm like, this is fine, but it's a pretty mediocre, typical MCU film that is significantly elevated by both Ultron and Wanda Maximoff. She alone puts this in B tier, but I'm putting it a low B tier. Okay. Now, this is definitely the most obscure film on this list. It's very hard to find information on this one. I only found it by searching for other Pinocchio films on the Internet Archive. This is titled The New Pinocchio, is a Chinese film from 2016, and this film is fucking insane. It doesn't have subtitles, obviously. So, a little girl... What did I... Oh, trades. I couldn't read my handwriting there because it was so faded. She trades Geppetto an acorn for an expensive-looking toy ship. A squirrel sneaks into the shop at night and gets the acorn, but there's a fairy inside the acorn that forces the squirrel to pour water down the throat of a lifeless Pinocchio puppet, and then the acorn is also put inside the puppet, and the water causes it to grow. And also the magic grows it. The fairy's magic grows it, and there's like these Danny Phantom-ass DNA vines that grow inside Pinocchio and bring him to life. He gets a bunch of free stuff. He gets pelted with a soccer ball many times. He befriends an anthropomorphic dog, and this anthropomorphic dog is the stand-in for the cat. He robs a bakery, gets interrogated by a cheetah cop. He's kidnapped from jail by the fox and the dog, brought through the sewers to an amusement park, knocked unconscious by a poisoned cupcake, but wakes up to see the other kids at the amusement park being turned into pigs, not donkeys, pigs, by what did I write? A death wizard. Okay. He escapes while the squirrel shoots the death wizard with fireworks. And then at the end, he takes another bullet. Pinocchio gets shot again. He takes a bullet for Geppetto. This is the funniest scene of Pinocchio getting shot. And this whole time, leading up to this point, Geppetto had been looking for Pinocchio along with the cops. And again, much like the Video Brinquedo Pinocchio film, this would be a so bad it's good cult classic if it had an English dub. Someone needs to get on this. Also worth noting, this film straight up steals a bunch of music from other things, including Bug's Life, Monsters, Inc., Band of Brothers, Ouran High School Host Club, The Croods, some anime film called Metropolis, Gintama, Pink Panther, and some DJ named X-Ray Dog or whatever. I don't know. At least that's what I could find based on, like, YouTube copyright claims. And because, like, in order to watch this, yeah, whatever. It doesn't matter. This is an S tier. Because it's just so insane. And it would be a classic and so bad it's good cinema if it had an English dub. Someone get on that. Alright, now we have the final installment of the Axis trilogy for Puppet Master. This is Puppet Master Axis Termination from 2017. Danny and Beth's actors from Axis Rising return, just to be killed off in the cold open. And the digital blood looks awful. It looked awful in the previous film too, but it's even worse here somehow. There's this American military captain that is forced to team up with a Russian empath doctor, his psychic daughter, this franchise's second sex psychic. The first one was in the original film. And Toulon's puppets in order to stop two psychic Nazis who have acquired the Nazi puppets from Axis Rising. The first half of this movie, the first half is boring and very poorly acted, but the second half is some of the dumbest, bloodiest, and most insane this franchise has gotten. I'm putting this in high C tier. Probably there, yeah. Puppet Master The Littlest Reich. This is a reboot from 2018. And it immediately ignores everything that made the previous movies any fun by not only making Andre Toulon the villain again, but by also making him a Nazi war criminal, which is the literal opposite, if you'll recall, of what his character is. in the original continuity. It's also worth noting in this film, I mean, he doesn't have much screen time. He's pretty much only in the opening of the film. But he is played by Udo Kier, who also played Lorenzini in The Adventures of Pinocchio from 1996 and The New Adventures of Pinocchio from 1999. Anyway, so Thomas Lennon stars in this film. This has the highest production value of any Puppet Master film, I'll say that. So Thomas Lennon, his girlfriend, and the boss of the comic book shop that he works at, they go to this convention dedicated to the Toulon murders. And the movie jokes about this being distasteful. And this movie becomes very distasteful later on. And I guess everyone attending this convention somehow has their hands on one of the original Toulon puppets, so they're trying to sell them. And the puppets start killing everybody, explicitly targeting minorities. You know, they're Nazis now. Yeah, it is the goriest Puppet Master by far, but I think it takes the gore way too far, especially in one particular kill that I'm not going to describe. It's very distasteful. That said, I don't think it's the worst Puppet Master film. Obviously, that's Legacy. But because it's never really boring, and the story is interesting in concept. And like I said, it has the highest production value of the franchise by far. I just wish that if they were going to go with this story of, like, Nazi puppets killing a bunch of minorities, that the puppets we know and love from the previous films were the good guys, and they were fighting against the Nazi puppets. Because that's what makes these films fun. So I'm putting this one low D tier. Probably put it, yeah, here. Okay, Blade the Iron Cross, from 2020. We got a spin-off now. Puppet Master has officially entered spin-off territory. And this film is a film noir in which Blade and the psychic girl from Axis Termination team up with a detective to stop a Nazi scientist from creating an army of zombies. This is somehow one of the best films of the franchise. My only real criticism of it is that at one point the Nazis capture the female lead, and she is strapped to a chair completely naked, and there is no reason for her to be naked. It's like full on, like there's nothing is hidden. Also, this is the second of two Puppet Master films to reference Pinocchio. There's a pervert cop that calls Blade Pinocchio as a joke, and then he gets killed. So that's fun. But yeah, I'm still A tier. It's, again, like, I would say Blade the Iron Cross, Puppet Master vs. Demonic Toys, and Puppet Master 4 are easily the best three films of the trilogy. Okay, now we have Pinocchio from either 2019, 2020, or 2021, depending on where you look. It's an Italian film. Roberto Benigni's in it again, but this time he is playing Geppetto at an appropriate age. This one actually got nominated for some Oscars. It got nominated for Best Costume Design and Best Makeup and Hairstyling. Making it the second of 3 Pinocchio films to be nominated for Oscars. Unfortunately, is the only one not to win an Oscar, because it lost both awards to Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. And I think I do really like Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, and I think its costumes and makeup and hairstyling were good. But the makeup in this film is insane. Like, Pinocchio looks so good. It's all done, like he is practically made up to look like a wooden boy. Like, they put makeup on a child to make him look wooden, and it looks phenomenal. Also worth noting that I couldn't find the original Italian version of this film, so I watched the English dub, but they specifically, when they were dubbing this film, they went out of their way to get Italian actors to dub the film, and I think even a couple of the people from the original Italian cast dubbed themselves, including Pinocchio, and it winds up being the best dub of any of the dubbed films I watched. And also, it's a very faithful adaptation that does not shy away from the story's darkest elements. It's so good. There's a little bit of pacing issues, but... And I wish we got more of Roberto Benigni as Geppetto, because he doesn't have much screen time. But I would still give this a solid A tier. It is definitely one of the best, like, direct, faithful adaptations. Okay, now we've got this one. Pinocchio's Adventures, The Adventures of Pinocchio. That is the actual title, I promise you. So this is from 2021, and it's actually 3 different films that are each an hour long, but I'm just including them in one. So last stream I did, we, did the bad movie bracket, and Finding Jesus we talked a lot about there. This movie feels very Finding Jesus-esque in terms of its animation, in the fact that it's just the same barely animated animation repeated over and over with Pinocchio and Geppetto, or not Geppetto, the cricket. And the cricket is telling Pinocchio the story. The cricket is reading the story of Pinocchio to Pinocchio, and Pinocchio is reacting to it as if he has no idea what happens. And the story scenes are like just clip art. It's just fucking clip art, and it often doesn't even match what is being said by the cricket narrating. And I think it's just a straight up translation of the original Italian story without cutting anything. And there's stock music. I'm pretty sure the entire score is stock music, and half the time it doesn't even match the tone of what's happening. The cricket voices all the characters in the story, including Pinocchio, despite Pinocchio having a separate voice actor in the framing device. And part 3 ends with Pinocchio being chased by a police dog, and that's it. And from what I could tell, part 4 never got made. So not only is this one of the most low-effort films I've ever seen, it's straight up unfinished. It's 3 films technically, but, like, again, I'm counting it as one. It's so fucking low effort. It goes in F tier. It is the worst. Ugh. And in order to watch those, I had to sign up for a free trial of the Dove channel. And I found this other Pinocchio film. It was only 37 minutes long, also from 2021. I decided to include it. But what this is actually, it's just a documentary, I guess. It feels like just it feels like a really poorly written Wikipedia article talking about it's like the TikTok female voice. It feels like that. It's not the same voice, but it feels like it. I think it's from the same studio as Pinocchio's Adventures, The Adventures of Pinocchio. I'm not sure. But yeah, that type of like generic online female voice reading the real world history of Pinocchio, then a condensed version of the story, then more real world history that feels redundant and disorganized, and then there's a full summary of the Disney version, more real world history, then a summary of Geppetto, this one, the one with Drew Carey, and then they talk about the lost Italian animated Pinocchio film that I didn't even mention because it never got released and never got finished, and everything from it except for like a couple stills and the script are lost. But it would have been the first feature-length cell animated film. It would have predated Snow White. But yeah, they talk about that. And all of this is paired with, like, stock photos and videos. It's bad. It's bad. I mean, I put it in D tier because it's kind of funny, but it's bad. I shouldn't have even included it, but I did. And it's too late now. Alright, now we get to 2022, the year where they released so many Pinocchio. They released 5 if you count the ones I counted, which aren't Pinocchio films, but whatever. We have Pinocchio, A True Story. This is the one with Pauly Shore. You've seen the clip. Father, when can I leave to go on my own? I got the whole world to see. Yeah, it's that. And, it's bad. But Pauly Shore's performance, as someone who has a deep hatred for many Pauly Shore characters, well, 2 really. One. I hate him as the Sniveler in Casper Spirit of Beginning. That's my main gripe with it. He's also bad in Casper Meets Wendy, but he's playing a different character with less screen time and not as bad as the Sniveler. But anyway, his terrible performance is the most noteworthy part of this film. And it's not a straightforward adaptation. It's almost closer to the Golden Key. Well, not really. It is a Russian film. And this is the other one with Jon Heder, distributed by Lionsgate. But like, yeah, it's bad, but it's not too noteworthy. It kind of feels like a generic animated film. I put it in D tier. What did I rate it? 1.5 stars. Okay, so I'll put it like, there. That seems fair. Okay, Disney's Pinocchio remake. I also wrote a full page about this one, but I'm not gonna talk about all of that. I will say this is not nearly as bad as everyone made it out to be. Like, shit, man. I'm putting this in a high C tier. It's fine. It's like, it's obviously, it's not as good as the original Disney film. Obviously, I put that in S tier. It's fine. It's got some bad, but it's also got some good stuff. I think the acting's all pretty good. I wish we got a little more of Cynthia Erivo as the Blue Fairy. She's really good. Joseph Gordon-Levitt is a good Jiminy Cricket. Keegan-Michael Key's clearly having fun as the Fox, as Honest John. And Luke Evans is particularly good as the Coachman. He has the one good new song. You know, this film, it's far from the best Disney remake. It's got a lot of unnecessary additions, but it does have moments where it takes what was good about the original and expands upon it. Which is what a good remake should do. It's far from the worst Disney. It's far from the worst Disney remake. And there's a moment at the end where, after they get out of the whale, they flip the script where usually you have Pinocchio with the fake out death. You're like, oh, Geppetto thinks Pinocchio died. But in this one, Pinocchio thinks Geppetto has died. And he starts singing When You Wish Upon a Star. And they do the thing that so many movies do where, like, he cries and Geppetto comes back to life or whatever. A little cliche, but genuinely I started tearing up. And I think any film that can elicit a genuine emotional reaction that isn't anger, frustration, or confusion is worth watching. Seriously, give this one a shot. There's a reason I'm not going to go in detail about all this stuff. Just go watch it. It's fine. It's like, yes, it's not as good as the original Disney film, but keep in mind, again, this was the third Pinocchio movie. It's not the original Pinocchio. It's like, Pinocchio's an old story. There's so many other Pinocchio films, and as you can see, this one is far from the worst. There's so many bad ones, and it's not one of them. It's fine. Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. Holy shit, this is a fucking S tier. I would put it, I'm even putting it above the original. The Disney one. This is one of the few Pinocchio adaptations that has respect for the source material while also very much doing its own thing, and it does something truly unique with the Pinocchio story. It is a masterpiece. If you have not seen Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, go watch it. It's so fucking good. Then we have Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. I mean, what do I have to say about this one? Well, I will talk about Pinocchio's relevance, because, yes, Pinocchio makes a very brief cameo in this film, which is the reason why I included it. But also, like Fisher King, I think Pinocchio's involvement in Puss in Boots: The Last Wish has more significance than one would think. Because, so no one cared about Jack Horner as a boy because he wasn't magic like Pinocchio. So he dedicated the rest of his life to collecting all sorts of magical objects. And what is the magical object that he and the other characters are searching for throughout the entire film? A wishing star. Literally, the first words of this film are Puss in Boots doing the starlight, starbright, first star I see tonight, I wish I may, I wish I might, have the wish I wish tonight. That's in the original Pinocchio film. I don't know if it originated from the Pinocchio film, but like that, come on, that's pretty blatant. That's pretty blatant. Plus, by the end of the film, Puss learns the value of life and Goldilocks learns the value of family, both of which are key themes in any good Pinocchio adaptation. And we, of course, have the cricket acting as Jack's attempted conscience. And yeah, once again, masterpiece, S tier. Puppet Master Dr. Death. You know how they followed up a spin-off film about their most popular puppet? A spin-off about a puppet who was only in Retro Puppet Master. And is in no other films, unless you count the footage reused in The Legacy, which, again, is dog shit. So there's this girl, April, who starts working at a senior living home, and for some reason the senior living home is stocked with Fangoria magazine, you know, for all those elderly horror fans. I think it's because Fangoria had, like, partial ownership of the Puppet Master franchise at the time or something. I think they might have helped with the reboot or something. I don't remember. Anyway, one of the old folks dies on her first day, and for some reason he has the Dr. Death puppet. So Dr. Death starts going around killing people and controlling their puppets like corpses to kill other people, which is cool. This one's fine, but for the most part, it's a little bare bones, no pun intended. And it's never explained why Dr. Death is killing innocent people, but there is a pretty neat twist ending that makes me hope we'll get another Puppet Master soon. Because it's been a while. I mean, obviously, 2022, this is the most recent one. Like, they used to churn these bad boys out like crazy. We need a new one. Yeah, I'll put this in C tier. Put it below. Access donation. Yeah. Yeah. All right. We have Once Upon a Studio. This is that short film that Disney made for their 100th anniversary. The year that was so good for them. It's a shame that they had such a rough year for their 100th anniversary, especially because this short film reminds you of just how many iconic things they've created. There's a part where Stromboli curses out a vending machine, so that's funny. And I was wondering whether or not to actually include this, but then at the end, everyone sings When You Wish Upon a Star, which obviously has kind of become the anthem for Disney at this point, but it originates from the original Pinocchio, so they don't forget its significance, because, like, they actually reuse audio of Jiminy Cricket from the original film singing for that scene, along with all the other characters having new recording of them singing. Yeah, this is, where did I put? A tier, yeah. Yeah, A tier. This is a great, this is a very good short film. Put it, like, here. Here. Yeah, very cute. Very good short film. I know this last thing. I wanted to end this with a bang. So, again, this isn't in chronological order exactly, but I watched the Bohemian Rhapsody arc of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, part 6, it's Stone Ocean. 2 episodes. Thankfully, this basically works as a standalone story. If you haven't seen the rest of JoJo, which I haven't, I've only done the guessing games, which aren't even public anymore because they were on the channel that got deleted. But yeah, So in this episode, they run into this guy who has a stand named Bohemian Rhapsody, or in the localization, it's Bohemian Ecstatic. That brings fictional characters and also Vincent van Gogh into reality. And one of the more prominent ones in the arc is Pinocchio. The stand's rules are a bit inconsistent and confusing, which, according to Jacob, who's my resident JoJo expert, is kind of par for the course for the series. But it's a fun concept that is otherwise executed pretty well. We also get a cameo from Astro Boy, so we technically get 2 Pinocchios in this. And despite the fact that I watched these 2 episodes thinking that Pinocchio was in both of them because the voice actress for Pinocchio is credited in both of them. Except Pinocchio dies in the first part, which again goes against the stand's rules, but whatever. And also the ending implies that Pinocchio's death literally erased Pinocchio from existence in all media. I wish they could have done that with some of the versions I watched. I'm gonna put this in B tier. I'll put it there. Yeah. I'm done with Pinocchio now. At least until Pinocchio Unstrung comes out. And yeah, so this is the list. Obviously, F tier is a lot heavier than S tier. I think when I did here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna add a row above. I'm gonna do what I did in my original and just put my top 5 in S+. So that's the Guillermo del Toro, Disney, Revenge, Okio Pinocchio, and Puss in Boots' Last Wish. I'm gonna move that one and that one into S tier, balance things out a little bit, and then likewise I'm going to change the color of the F tier and then add a row below it. That's gonna be F minus. That's gonna be, I'll just do gray, and that'll be 964 Pinocchio, the BBC miniseries, 3000, Welcome Back Pinocchio, and Pinocchio's Adventures, The Adventures of Pinocchio. So yeah, so all in all, this is looking more balanced now. With that, or if I could, like, zoom out so you can see the whole thing at once. Yeah. How's my face cam? Is my face cam blocking that at all? Ah, we're good. Excellent. Yeah. So here's my ranking of Pinocchio films, and also a couple other things. Little bottom heavy. There's more bad Pinocchio films than there are good. But there's some good ones here. Definitely recommend any of these top 5, obviously. I mean, you've probably seen the Disney one, and you've probably seen Puss in Boots' Last Wish, but, you know. Yeah. That's the tier list. Now I can be done with this fucking Pinocchio thing. I don't have to edit anything. I'm free. So I'm just gonna adjust a teeny bit. Yeah, put that there. That there. I put the good bad films at the ends of their respective tiers, even if I like them better than some of the other films. Yeah, like, Legacy should be below Donkey's Christmas Spectacular. But yeah, this is, yeah. Tier list looks good. So, yeah, done with that. I have plans to do more streams here in the future. Obviously, like, this channel is primarily for my films and stuff. And I've got a lot of projects I'm working on in the background. Some will be for this channel, others will be for my other channels, because they're more directly connected to the lore that I'm wrapping up. But yeah, the next thing I'm gonna do on this channel is gonna be in May, like I said. I don't want to give away quite what that's going to be, but yeah, I have a fun thing planned. A fun little writing challenge for myself. I'm gonna do the actual writing of it on here, and then it'll eventually turn into a project that will go on this channel sometime next year. So, stay tuned for that. I just realized I didn't even wear the white glove. It would have been too hard to drag the stuff on the thing with the white gloves on. It's fine. Alright, well, I'm done now. I'm gonna take this off. Obviously, I'm gonna take the rest of it off stream so that I'm not flashing y'all, because I don't want another channel taken down. Yeah. Thanks for watching. If you watch this in post, I'm also going to include a link to this tier list template. I'll put that in the description, so if you are insane like me and want to watch even half of these, and you can make your own ranking. But don't. I wouldn't recommend it. This drove me insane, and God, I wish I never did it. I mean, granted, I did get to watch some great films that I never would have watched. I did get to watch some good films that I never would have watched otherwise. I mean, I would have watched the Puppet Master films eventually anyway, but I never would have watched Okio Pinocchio if not for this challenge. Like, come on. Alright. Yeah, I'm done. Thanks for watching. As always, don't have a good day. Have a great day.